All right, guys, so for this week, we are going to be creating another piece of art using our computers. So I am going to be using the same program that I showed you with last week, which is this paint program. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and open this up. I have a bunch of examples that I played around with before making this video for you guys. So as you can see, I have done two different kinds of drawings. I did one that has a flower because remember, we want to make something that has lots of parts to it. So for this one, for the flower, I did a circle for the center, and then I did all these different shapes for the petals going around. And then we are going to be creating a background. So I just did this kind of checkerboard pattern. And then for the other three drawings, I did the inside of a lime or an orange, some sort of fruit like that, where it has the center and then all the pieces going around, and then the same thing, the sort of checkerboard background. Also, I want you to notice that I did pick two complementary colors for each one of these. So right here, red and green are complementary, purple and yellow, and then these two are both orange and blue, which are complementary. So let's go ahead and make another one. So I'm going to hit Create New. I just hit OK there. All right, so now we have our blank template. I think for this one, since I've made a bunch of the fruit ones, I'll make a flower one for this. So I'm going to use a couple different tools for this drawing project. The last one, the only thing I used was the pen and the paint bucket. For this, I'm going to use both of those again, the pen and the paint bucket, but I'm also going to use the circle maker and the straight line tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the inside of the flower. So I use this circle tool, and I just make a circle of whatever size I want the center of the flower to be. And then what's kind of cool is you can move it, and I could try to get it like centered on the screen if I want. So that would be center. And then for the petals, I'm going to use the pen, and I'm just going to draw them. Now, if you guys watched the other video when I did the landscape, I'm not great at drawing with this tool, but I'm just going to do my best. And try to remember that flowers, fruit, all those things out in nature, they're never perfect. So you're just going to do your best. I'm going to start my pen at the circle and then bring my line out and then bring it back in. And I get that kind of petal shape. And I'm going to keep going. I hold the mouse down while I drag. All right, now I got one of those awkward kind of bumps again, like I did with the last project. What I could do is I could leave it. I could absolutely leave it. Or I could use the eraser and just erase that part that I don't like, go back to the pen, and try to just connect it so then it doesn't have quite so bad of a dip in it. So I think I'll do that and keep going around, adding petal shapes, and some, as you can see, are much bigger than others. That's okay. And I'm leaving some spaces in between the petals, but I'll show you what I'm going to do. For these big spaces, I like to add smaller petals in between. So I'll go ahead and I'll fill some of those spaces. I think I want another one here. So that looks pretty good. All right, now for the example that I showed you, I added some designs into the center of my flower. I did some diagonal lines that added kind of a checkerboard. You could do something like that, or you could do something totally different. I think I'll make this one a little bit different. So maybe I will add another circle inside of here. And then maybe I will add, I'm going to draw circles out here so they don't get in the way. And what you can do is you can copy. So I'm going to do, on my Mac, it's Control C, Command V, and I'm going to paste a bunch of these circles around this area because I think that looks kind of interesting. Oh, boy. So it is not really enjoying what I'm doing here. It's getting a little bit freaked out, I guess, but that's okay. We're just going to keep going. I'm going to just keep pasting these little circles. And one more, I think, something like that. So that looks a little bit more interesting than just having a plain circle. And maybe I'll just add one more tiny one in the middle. So something like that. I think I kind of liked the checkerboard that I did in the other one better. It's all right. I could go ahead and I could erase this if I don't like it, or I could leave it. And I think for right now, I'm just going to leave it. So once I get my fruit or my flower drawn, the next step is to add your background. And it should be some sort of checkerboard. It could be straight across and up and down, like in the version I showed you. You could do lines that go diagonal in both directions. You could do wavy lines, zigzag. That's really up to you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my line tool. And this is what's going to help me make those really quick straight lines. So the way I'm going to start is I'm going to do my vertical lines first. So click down where I want my line to start, and then just drag it to the other side of the paper or the picture. Now, just like with the landscape, we want to make sure that our lines go off the edge of the paper. So I'm just going to take this and drag it and make sure it goes all the way off the edge. Go back to my line tool. Now, I'm getting to a point where I'm going to start to get into the same space of where my drawing is. So what I do, because we don't want our lines to go through our drawing, is wherever I want my next line to be, I start at my drawing, click down, and then drag my line out to the edge of the paper. Go back to my line tool, click where I want the other side to start, and drag it out. So that's how I make sure that I don't make my lines go through my drawing, but I'm able to bring them out to the edge of my paper so it looks like the lines are going behind, and that's what we're going for. I like to start at the flower and work my way out. You might like doing it the other way. Now, I made this line kind of diagonal. I'm just going to leave it. I don't care if it looks perfect, but if that's something that bothers you, you can absolutely click on these and it will let you adjust it. Oh God. So you can sort of move these things around. If that was bothering you, you can make it a little bit more straight, but I'm just going to keep going. And I'm not worrying about making the space in between my lines equal distance. Again, you could if you wanted to, but for me, I'm not worrying about that. That's not what's important for this project. So just kind of eyeballing it. And this is my last line that I'm going to have going vertical. So now I'm just going to do the same thing going horizontally. So keep going back to that line tool. I'm going to make this one go all the way across the top. Make sure that my line goes out to the edge. And then go back to adding those lines by starting at my drawing and dragging it out. All right, I'm going to fast forward this part and I will talk to you guys again when I'm done with this part. All right, now that I have my drawing done, the next part is to go to my paint bucket and I'm going to start to add color. Now remember, you have to pick a set of complementary colors. So if I drop down my color options, I can do red and green, I could do purple and yellow, or I could do blue and orange. And I think for this one, I'm going to go with red and green. So I'm going to decide what color do I want the flower to be, and I think I will go with red for the flower. So I have all these different values of red that I can pick from. So I think I'm going to start with the darkest one, and maybe I'll make the center really dark. And then maybe I'll make the next part a little bit lighter. And I'm just going to start to fill in my flower using only different values of red. Now, there are a bunch of choices here, but there might not be as much as you want. So what you can do is hit show colors, and what it does is it actually brings up a color wheel. And you can drag this all inside the red section, and it will give you all different values of red. So the farther I push it over towards orange, the more of an orangey red it's going to be. Let's see what that looks like. Now, in my opinion, I think that's a little too orange. So I'm going to drag it a little bit closer to the red side. And there we go. We get that really nice bright red. And then I could drag it down the color wheel a little bit. That'll make it lighter. And so I can just kind of play around. If I bring it over here, it's going to start to get a little bit more purple. And I think that is probably a little bit too purple. We want to keep it on the red side of things. And I can go back and forth between playing with the colors and picking from what they have provided up here. And I'm just going to start to fill in my flower with all the different values of red that I can find. Now you can absolutely repeat values of these colors, but it is kind of cool to play with it and see what kind of different ones you can find. Oops. I somehow made all of my lines that light red, so I'm going to undo that. There we go. All right, let's see. Oh, and you also can play at the bottom. It has this part right here where you can add more black to a color, so that would make it a shade. So the farther I slide it over, the darker it gets, and even the darker the color wheel gets. So that's something kind of cool to play with as well. Let's see. All right, now I have to do these center parts. I think I'll go with, maybe I'll do like the lightest one that's in there. All right, now I don't really love the way this came out. I can go back and play with it later, but for right now, I think I'll just move on. Oh, I did not mean to do that, so undo. Now I'm going to go ahead to my background. So because I picked red for the flower, I have to do the complementary color for the background, and that would be green. So what I'm going to do is just select a color of green to start with, and I'm just going to start to randomly pick these squares and filling them in with that color. Now I have the same issue happening that I did with the landscape. I did not make this line go all the way out to the edge, so both of these squares became the same color. So just like in the landscape project, I'm going to undo. I'll go to my pen and very quickly just add a line. So I've closed that off, and now go back to my paint bucket, and that should be fixed. Perfect. So now I'm going to pick a new value of green. I'll probably go to a lighter one. And if you want, you could absolutely make some sort of pattern with your values. I kind of just like to do it in a random way and see what happens. But you're more than welcome to make some sort of design or pattern with your colors. But remember, you are only using the complementary color in the background, but same thing. I can go ahead and I can play around with these different colors, see what I can get. Almost there. And there we go. Oh, I got a couple little spots I didn't do. All right, so now that I have everything filled in, you can see how because red and green are complementary colors and now they're next to each other, they start to make each other look brighter, and it looks pretty cool. So when you're done, you're going to save it, save your picture, title it whatever you want. I think this is my 5th example. I am saving mine to my desktop just so it's easy to find. Click Save, and then you can see there it is. So now I have all of my examples that I've done. So if you want to do a couple, do just one, pick the one that you like the best and send it to me so I can see it. And try to have fun with this. Try to see what kind of different colors you can come up with. So far I think I really like this orange and this blue combination, but they all look really cool. So find one that you like and try to have some fun with it. All right, guys, I can't wait to see what you make.